নয়ন রুনিরা ঝরে মারা মারা ছুরি ছুরি তোমা কামা ছাবিকে নয়ন রুনিরা ঝরে মারা মারা ঝুরি ছুরি তোমা কামা ছাবিকে জীবন জীবন দিয়া দরসনা জীবন জীবন দিয়া দরসনা জীব যাও নাথ তুমকো ডাকি জীব যাও নাথ তুমকো ডাকি নাতে মোরে হে আকি
মোচন পূজ্য বরম গুণহীনাম গুণাধিপতিম ভবভীরুজানে সত বরদম প্রণমামি গুরুম সেবা কল্পতরুম প্রণমামি গুরু সেবা
জয় গুরু বন্দে। প্রেমার ঠাকুর জ্ঞান পারাবার প্রেমার ঠাকুর জ্ঞান পারাবার হে সত্য শিব সুন্দর হে সত্য শিব সুন্দর তব শ্রীচরণে শরণ লাভিছি তব শ্রীচরণে শরণ লাভিছি কেতে জন্ম পুণ্য মোহর কেতে জন্ম পুণ্য মোহর হে সত্য শিব সুন্দর হে সত্য শিব সুন্দর তুমি আদি গুরু অমৃত ওঙ্কার তুমি আদি গুরু অমৃত ওঙ্কার আদি প্রণবর প্রথম ঝঙ্কার আদি প্রণবর প্রথম ঝঙ্কার অনাদি অনন্ত অব্যক্ত পাদর অনাদি অনন্ত অব্যক্ত পাদর গুণযুক্ত পুণি ব্যক্ত জগতর গুণযুক্ত পুণি ব্যক্ত জগতর পরাৎপর যারে ইচ্ছারে পরাৎপর যারে ইচ্ছারে ইঙ্গিত সেই প্রিয় আদি শঙ্কর সেই প্রিয় আদি শঙ্কর হে সত্য শিব সুন্দর हे सत्य शिव सुंदर तंत्र सार तुमे ज्ञानर आकार तंत्र सार तुमे ज्ञानर आकार जोगी राज पुणी प्रेमिक प्रवर जोगी राज पुणी प्रेमिक प्रवर वेदांत ईश्वर भगवत सार वेदांत ईश्वर भगवत सार मु गुरु एहि भावटी तुमार मु गुरु एहि भावटी तुमार ससागरा धरा खेलन तुमार ससागरा धरा खेलन तुमार मुखे तुम वेद मंतर मुखे तुम वेद मंतर हे सत्य शिव सुंदर हे सत्य शिव सुंदर विश्वमुख गाए तुम्हारी वंदना विश्वमुख गाए तुम्हारी वंदना तुम्हारी आरती तुम आराधना तुम्हारी आरती तुम आराधना विश्व प्रकृति जे तुम उपासना तुम पूजा विधि तुम रचना तुम्हें ही महान तुम्हें विश्व प्राण तुम्हें ही महान तुम्हें विश्व प्राण से ही प्रिय तुम्हें ठाकुर से ही प्रिय तुम्हें ठाकुर हे सत्य शिव सुंदर हे सत्य शिव सुंदर बुझी हेबन बुझी नहीं देव पुत्र बुद्धि मोर बुझी नहीं देव क्षुद्र बुद्धि मोर जानी नहीं प्रभु महिमा तुमार जानी नहीं प्रभु महिमा तुमार वरण करी मु चरण तुमार वरण करी मु चरण तुमार अंजलि पातिछि हे प्राण ठाकुर अंजलि पातिछि हे प्राण ठाकुर नीति मिलु तुम सेवा अधिकार नीति मिलु तुम सेवा अधिकार एतिकियाळी हे दासर एतिकियाळी हे दासर हे सत्य शिव सुंदर हे सत्य शिव सुंदर प्रेमर ठाकुर ज्ञान परावार प्रेमर ठाकुर ज्ञान परावार हे सत्य शिव सुंदर हे सत्य शिव सुंदर
Jai Guru Nigamopadesa, page 82. Objective of religion is one. Religions of all human beings, of all countries and communities are one. but their methods of practice are only different. The five elements earth, water, fire, air, and sky are essential for the growth and nourishment of each and every organism. Everyone is daily using these basic elements to protect and sustain the physical body. The carnivorous animals eat and live on the blood and flesh of other animals. The herbivorous animals depend on grass and herbs. Among human beings, some take vegetarian food consisting of wheat, rice, and ghee. The people of some society are non-vegetarian, who chiefly eat fish and meat. Some people live on mixed foods, vegetarian as well as non-vegetarian, and thus accomplish the sustenance of body made of five elements. The primary aim of all foods is to satisfy hunger. Sustenance of body is secondary. Just as the purpose of all foods is same for all, but its way of fulfilling hunger differs, similarly, the aim of all religions is same, but the methods are different. Therefore, the different religions created by man are chiefly varied due to different in methods of sadhana. The objective of religion is basically the same. The gradual development of all animals and birds, save man, is vested in the hands of nature. As a result, nature regulates and leads them in equal manner with equal pace on the path of progress. But man is the independent being in Aham Tattva, that is philosophy of manifestation of self, of I. A man has freedom of will in the matters of spiritual development. Therefore, different religious communities are created on the basis of different methods of sadhana propounded by the great sages and saints of different countries and societies. In addition, the more lively a religious society is, the more its branches are. For example, the Shia and Sunni of the Muslims, the Protestant and the Catholic of the Christians. Again, leave aside the branches of Hindus. There are numerous branches of the Hindu society all around. They exalt over their own religious feelings. Depending upon their knowledge, talent, and sadhana, comprehending the developed state of soul and discovering the ways to reach that state, they have written the religious sculptures, keeping in view the custom, practice, and behavior prevalent in their respective society. Therefore, the religious practices have been determined according to their own society. Thus, the different religious sects are noticed. So today, all religious people, holy men, prophets, saints of the world quench the spiritual quest of human heart by giving solemn, sweet, and prodigious interpretation of their own philosophy and their respective religious scriptures. Study the essence of the scriptures. In the world, man, on a comprehending life and endless thirst of heart, is busy with the secret feeling emanating from the spiritual analysis and explanation. The scriptures are written by rishis who have realized truth, but truth is one. Hence, how can scriptures expressing the same truth be different and opposing? But unworthy people, while discussing the scriptures with their blunt and coarse wisdom, find difference among these. So today, different people explain and interpret the same scripture in different ways according to their own impressions and education. Thereby, they burn the society with the fire of jealousy, hatred, and violence. They are misleading the society by imparting advice to ineligible people instead of eligible people, giving sannyasis the advice meant for householders, again by giving brahmacharis the advice meant for the sannyasis. The common people are drowned in the whirlpool of divergent explanation of the scriptures of such religious preachers and advisors. Therefore, without realizing truth, one should not enter into the labyrinth of the scriptures. Consequently, there is no way to get out of such enigma in this life. People with their behavioral wisdom read and explain the scriptures in the garb of the wise in the society of ignorance. We go on howling in vain by spreading the vast web of arguments. Such superficial people can never acquire knowledge. On the other hand, they create feuds in the society by misleading others on wrong path. Therefore, devotees should read only the holy books dealing with the enactment of the divine play between God and his devotees and the essence of scriptures amenable to their own sadhana. On attaining truth, they may read all the scriptures to educate and preach the common people. They will be startled and glad to notice how innumerable and invaluable tattvas are preserved layer after layer in the Hindu scriptures in the most beautiful and disciplined manner. No scripture is spurious and meaningless. It fulfills the need of different categories of people as per their eligibility. Nobody can say that there is anything new, say political science, sociology, ethics, or philosophy, which have not been mentioned somewhere in the vast Hindu scriptures. In the absence of appropriate masters, we have been deprived of right education. So we remain invalid, insignificant, rot in diseases, and die in despair due to disappointment in our desired actions, in spite of our birth in the dynasty of the Aryans who are endowed with infinite knowledge. Hence, he who has succeeded in realizing truth should act as the watchman of Kalpa Bhandara, of the Hindu scriptures, and establish peace and happiness in society by preaching tattvas among common people according to their eligibility. He should awaken their divine self by pouring the nectar of bliss on the heart of people charred in the fire of Tritapa. This nectar of bliss has come out by churning the oceanic Hindu scriptures. On drinking this nectar, mortal human being will achieve immortality, and all his unfulfilled desires to achieve the knowledge of the self will be wiped out. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Nilachara Saraswati Sangha Puri, America Saraswati Sangha, 969 Sangha Puja Session Report, 3rd August 2025. First session 7:15 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time, and second session was from 9:45 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time. Palia, Simran, Sukanyama, and Sivanima. Adivasa Puja was held in Nigama Smriti Mandira at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 2nd August 2025. Link to attendance sheet is available on the website. The first session, morning session of the puja started at 7:15 a.m. with Pratikya. During Pratikya, Pujama sang Manima Sunima Heu, Ali Manara, and Arpidama sang Mate Sehi Rupe Diya Darasana and Anandamaya Nigavananda Jaya. During that time, all the devotees joined the puja either at NSN or by teleconference. Then Sanujit Bhai offered Arati to Sri Sri Thakura. After Arati, Smita Baima and Smita Raima led Bandhana and Sutra Bandhana, followed by Pallavima reading Sri Sri Guru Gita Shloka 28. After that, Brajabhai led Parichaya Patra Patha prayer for Samrani and Asana Mandira Nitya Puja Prarthana. Then Smita Raima read Sangha Sevaka 18th year, first part Bandhana Prarthana and Prarthana Karinka Prati. Then Sukanima invited Sri Sri Thakura, Bhais, Maas and young aspirants to attend the second session. The first session concluded with Jai Guru Mahanama, and the first session Bhoga was offered to Sri Sri Thakura after the first session, and Bhai, my young aspirants had Prasada Sevana. Second session was from 9:45 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. The second session of the puja started at 9:45 a.m. with Abahana. During Abahana, Dinama sang Antara Devata Asahe and Asahe Asa Parana Isa. After Bhababandhana and opening of curtain, Sivanima sang the Bandhana, He Ananda Bhubanananda. Kalpanama read Parichaya Patra, and Liliptama sang Vishwapati Pranama. Sudasanima read Nigam Upadesh speech 81-82 on vastness of Hindu religion. After Nigam Upadesh Patha, Subindubhai read the Vivarani of the last Sangha Puja session. Aradhanama read Panchasanyasini Sisya. This was followed by Prarthana Sangita Kede Siddhabula Asisa Tumara by Uditama. Then Kanchanawala Ma discussed on the importance and purpose of Nilachara Kutira Pali for monks. Then the young aspirant session started with Prarthana Sangita Mute Sebaka Panare Rakha He Thakura by Anik. Then Shriyama led the discussion in the YA session. After the discussion, Simran, Sivanima and Sukanyama shared their Bhavabinimas, followed by invitations for Madhyana Bhoga and evening puja. Then Suhani, Shriyama and Snigdhama invited Sri Sri Thakura for the Sangha Puja to be held on 11th August 2025. Sivanima invited Shri Thakur for Janmotsava Visis Puja. After that, Sukanyama begged forgiveness from Thakura, all Bhais, Maas and young aspirants. The session concluded with Vidya Prarthana, Dayamaya Sri Charani, Kare Nivedana by Rasmima, and afternoon was closed with Jai Guru Namakirtana and Pranam. Biswajit Bhai took the attendance of all Bhais, Maas present for Puja. Then Bhogu was offered to Shri Thakura, followed by Prasad. Shri Thakura Charanasrita Sukanyama. Jai Guru.
जय गुरु नीलाचल ठाकुर निगमानंद पृष्ठा 210 फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ ठाकुर जोगमाया देवी निकट में ठाकुर प्रिय पात्र मात्र ही आदरणीय थिले। चिदानंद महाराज और श्रद्धेय रामानंद महाराज से परम स्नेह समादर करथिले। अथच साधारणतः अंत्यवासी बालक बालिका मान प्रति कठोर शासन थिला। आश्रमर नियम भंग संबंध रे एमपी सजाग थिले ऊपर जो मानकर नाम कहली से संबंध रे नियमर कठोरता नथिला। तार कारण से ठाकुरंकर अत्यंत प्रीतिपात्र कहवा बाहुल्य मते गभीर वात्सल्य रे ग्रहण करने पछरे थिला तांकर गुरुनिष्ठा। पुरुष होई मध्य जो ममतारे हरिदास भाई दिन राति मते कोଳରେ धरी बुलुथिले बड़ मांकर मध्य सेही भली ममता। ठाकुर सेमानंकर प्राणठरू बली आपणार तेणु तांकर जहा किछि से सब मध्य सेमानंकर अति आपणार। भक्ति कह श्रद्धा कह प्रेम भक्ति रे ही से सबुर परम उत्कर्ष। वैष्णव माने कहंती प्रेम भक्तिर चरम परिपाक हेले ममत्व बुद्धिर उदय हुए। महाभाव स्वरूपा श्री राधा कहंती मु तो पूर्वरु कृष्णंकर होई रहिछि कथा।
जय गुरु भाई जय गुरु भाई तो पढ़ा हैतला आपण 4 पृष्ठ आगो को पांत
आगो को माने केते पृष्ठ नंबर केते कोई पेरी भाई
भाई को से पता
214 स्टार्ट 214 13 सरी थला बैक ना फ्लो से सरी थला। हां
अगेन भाई
हां भाई
आई थिंक 14 स्टार्ट हो राइट। हां
अगेन 214 तरफ अगेन
हां जय गुरु ठाकुर पाखे क्षमा प्रार्थना टिके भूल हो जाए तेणु आम पुणी 214 पृष्ठ स्टार्ट करिया। 214 पृष्ठ मठ कथा लिखि बसिले तो सरीब नहीं। मठरे थिली 3 मास किंतु जहा देखिथिली 3 वर्ष रे मध्य सेते दर्शनीय वस्तु देखिया को मिले नहीं। वर्तमान विशिष्ट दिन मानकर घटना सब कहि जीवी। मठरे ठाकुरंकर दैनिक कृत्य हैला सकाळे घरे बसी पढ़ाशुना करिवा और कहारी किछि विशेष प्रश्न थिले ता संगरे निवृत्त रे आलाप करिवा। स्नान भोजन विश्राम पुरीर नियम रे चली थाए। अपराह्न रे जाई हुए तो पुष्करणी निकट रे टिके बुली आसंती किंबा गौरांग घर सम्मुखरे बसंती। संध्या रे आरती कीर्तन परे आसन बारंडारे बसी अंतेवासी मानक सहित आलाप करंती। केबे केबे गल्प किंबा निज जीवन कथा कहंती। प्रायतः सही सभार गोटे कोणरे मु बसी थाए कारण संध्या परे घन तरुलता घेरा अंधकार मठ को देखिले मते भारी भय लागे। एही सबु संध्याकालीन उल्लेखयोग्य आलोचना गुडी को सत्य भाई प्रभृति श्री श्री निगमानंद उपदेशामृत रे संकलन करिथिबार देखा जाए। अक्षय तृतीया उत्सव कथा मोर विशेष भाव रे मने अछि। ठाकुरन को पुरी रे दीक्षा देबार देखिछि किंतु पूजक भूमिका रे केबे देखि नथिली। श्री श्री निगमानंद उपदेशामृत रे लेखा अछि से वर्ष वैशाख शेषरे अक्षय तृतीया पड़िथिला। मठरे 3 दिन पर्यंत उत्सव चलला। उत्सवर प्रथम दिन मु गोटे आश्चर्य दृश्य देखिली। जेते दूर मने पडुछि सेते बेले सत्य भाई ही आसन घरे प्रतिदिन पूजा करुछांती। सचिन निकटरू तांकर सेते बेलर नाम अवनीदा बोली सुनिली। एव दिन रे मध्य आसन घरे तांकु ही पूजक भाव रे देखिली। आसन बारंडारे जनगहली मु समस्त को चिन्हि नहीं। नलिनी भाई प्रज्ञानंद श्रद्धानंद महाराज ईश्वर भाई खगेश्वर भाई एवं सिलहटर सुरेश भाई प्रभृति केते जण मोर परिचित गोटे पाखरे ठिया हुई मु मध्य पूजा देखुचाए। ठाकुर घर आसन बारंडा को जो आशीर्वाद द्वार सेठारे ही मु ठिया होइतिली। बाबा गंभीर समाहित मूर्ति रे गृहाभ्यंतर थिले। परे जानिली से एक मन रे देवी गीता पाठ करुथिले। से हठात बाहरी आसी मो पाखरे ठिया होई जिवा मात्रे मु मुह टेकी तांको आडू अनाइली। बोध हुए मो डाहाण हाथ पाखरे कांथरे गोटे चामर झुलुथिला। मु तांको अनाइबा मात्रे चामर दोलाओ बोली पिता ठाकुर मते इंगित रे सूचना देले। मनरे खूब आनंद जात होला। मिछ कहू नहीं टिके अहंकार मध्य जात होला। आसन घर पूजा अनुष्ठान रे मु जे टिके भाग नहीं पारिची एहा बड़ भाग्यर कथा। मु चामर धरी गंभीर मुखरे वाद्य संगरे ताल मिसाई चामर दोलाइबाकू लागिली। वर्तमान मध्य निजर भाव मन पड़ले हास्यर उद्रेक हुए। केते मिनिट परे किंतु हस्तरे वेदना अनुभूत होला। खूब बड़ चामर वर्तमान भली हालुका खेलिबा जिनस परि नुहे। सेतेबेले ओजनदार जिनस बेसी समय धरी हाथ हलाई ताले ताले चामर व्यजन करबा भली एते शक्ति मोर काहीं। देवी अनेक भक्त एसेछे तुम्हार चरण तले अनेक अर्घ्य आनी। आमी अभाग्य एनेछि वहिया नयन जले व्यर्थ साधन खानी। तुमी जानो मोर मनेर बासना जत साध छिल साध्य छिल ना। सबु बहियाछि कठिन कामना दिवस निशी। उत्कला अनुवाद। देवी अनेक भक्त आसीचंती तोर चरण तले अनेक अर्घ्य घेनी। मु जे भाग्यहीन नयन जल रे आसी आजी व्यर्थ साधन आनी। तुमे जानो मो मनर बासना साधना जा थिला साध्य जे थिला ना। तथापि बहिची कठिन कामना दिवस निशी। हस्तरे वेदना अनुभूत हेले मध्य चामर रखी देई पारु न थाए। ठाकुर निजे आदेश करछंती चामर दोलाइबाकू। भय लज्जारे प्रकृतरे मो भली अभाग्यर नयन जल रे भासीबार अवस्था। मो पाखरे ठिया होई ठाकुर आरती देखुथिले। आहुरी दुई पाद अग्रसर होई मो हाथरू चामर नहीं से निजे दोलाइबाकू लागिले। स्वस्तिर निश्वास त्याग करी मु अबाक होई छिबारे लागिली। सेई उन्नत विशाल देह सम्मुखर उभय पार्श्वरे उत्कृष्ट देशरे जटा दोलायमान। भाव गांभीर्य साक्षात कैलासपति सदाशिव। से पुणी काहाकू तद्गत चित्तरे चामर व्यंजन करुछंती। यार अनेक दिन परे महाजन पदावली रे देखिली वैष्णव कहउछंती गुरु कृपा सखीबा में नित्य वृंदावन धामे चामरेर बतास करिवो। ई पाठ करी आश्चर्य लागिला। वैष्णव रसशास्त्र अनुसार गुरु महाराज कौन नित्य धामर सखी। आम मानकर गुरुदेव किंतु परिचय देउथिले मनेकर मु सेही नित्य लोकर नित्य पुरुष। ताहेले मो आखि आगे सेही छवि फुटी उठिला। सेतेबेले तो बुझी नथिली। वर्तमान मने होउची से दिन तांकु मु सचिदानंद पुरुष परिवर्तरे सेही सेवापरायण सखी भूमिका रे दर्शन करिथिली। यहा ही महाभावर प्रकाश। भाव गुड़िक पृथक पृथक किंतु महाभावर उदय हेले पिता माता दासी सखा दैत इत्यादि समस्त भावर मिश्रण रे एक अनिर्वाच्य रस सिंधुर कल्लोल रे आत्महरा हेबा ही स्वाभाविक। देखु देखु चामर जेपरी हतांक हस्तरु खसी पड़ला। चामर थोई देई ठाकुर आसन घर द्वार सम्मुखरे आम समस्त परि विरासन रे बसी पड़ले। हस्तद्वय स्वतः अंजलिबद्ध होई गला। एक दृष्टि रे आसन वेदी आड़कू अनाई कौन जेपरी देखिबाकू लागिले। मुहरे तांकर जलपूर्ण श्रावण मेघर भाव। पूर्वाली पवन लागिले सते जेपरी झरी पड़िबो। सते कि झरी पड़िबो। छल छल चक्षुरु बिंदु वृष्टि होइतिला। सेही बाष्पाकुलित मुखछवि मोर मने अछि। पुरी रे समुद्र देखिछि। ताहार तीर रे तरंग भंगर शेष नहीं किंतु सिंधुर अंत हृदय रे सेठारे अगाध घन कृष्ण जलराशि केवल दोलायित। लहरी चांचल्य रे कल उच्छ्वास रे भांगी पड़ू नहीं। ठाकुर को से दिन ठीक से भली भाव देखी। हृदय भाव पूर्ण किंतु बहिप्रकाश स्तब्ध। विद्युत गर्भ मेघ सदृश अंतरिक्षरे घनायित हेले मध्य माँ चापलय मंत्र ईशान जेपरी तांकर रुद्र तांडव को महाशक्ति रे निरुद्ध करथिले। ताहा थिला मो पक्षरे एक दुर्लभ दर्शन। सेदिन ठाकुर निगमानंद परिवर्ते मु भक्त पदारविंद भिक्षु दिन निगमानंद को ही दर्शन करथिली। यह मध्य तांकर अन्यतम परिचय। यह व्यतीत आसन बारंडारे बसी शंकराचार्य नाटक शुणिया कथा मन पड़ुछि। एकदा मठरे प्राय अभिनय होउतला गिरीश घोषଙ୍କ नाटक ठाकुरंकर अति प्रिय थिला। मो निकटरे जो केते खंड गिरीश ग्रंथावली अछि आज मध्य तार नाटकीय चरित्रावली पार्श्व केतेक स्थान रे ठाकुरंक स्वहस्त लिखित भूमिका लिपि विद्यमान। हरगौरी नाटकरे नंदी भुंगी पार्श्व राजचंद्र और चंडी अन्यान्यंक निकटरे केउठी बा जोगेन प्रियनाथ वरदा शारदा नाम एवं नारी चरित्र रे सुशीला शैल शांति प्रभृति नाम लिखित। सेथर अक्षय तृतीया तार शेष पुनरावृत्ति देखिली। मठर ब्रह्मचारी मानक अन्यान्य भूमिका दे ठाकुर निजे शंकराचार्य भूमिका ग्रहण कले। साज पोशाक नहीं आसन रे बसी से आसन रे बसी जे जहार भूमिका पाठ करी जाउछांती सुधानंद महाराज शंकर जननी वशिष्ठांकर सत्य भाई उपादंकर भूमिका ग्रहण करथिले। एतिक मात्र मने अछि। सुधानंद महाराज वर्तमान मठाश्रमर अंतेवासी नुहंती। सारस्वत संघर नव आगंतुक गण तांक सुदृष्टि रे देखंती नहीं। मु किंतु तांकु भूली नहीं। मठ को जाई केते दिन अबाध स्वाधीनता भोग करिवा परे विपत्ति पड़िला। मु लेखापड़ा संपूर्ण छाड़ी देइछि देखि पिता ठाकुर उद्विग्न होई उठिले। ता फलरे सकाळ ओली सुधानंद महाराज मते पढ़ाइबाकू आरंभ कले। प्रथमे केते दिन धरी भयरे भल छात्री परी तांक देइथिबा पढ़ा तक करी रखुतिली किंतु अल्प दिन परे से भय दूर होई गला। आज मध्य सुधानंद महाराजक शांत सस्नेह दृष्टि मोर स्मृति पथारूढ़ हुए। से अत्यंत निरीह शांत सरल एक कथा बुझिबा को मते डेरी लागिला नहीं। तापर ठारू उत्पात आरंभ कली। श्रुतिलिपि डिक्टेशन लिखिबा को कहले मोर हस्त व्यथा हुए। एभली केते प्रकार बहाना करे। सुधानंद भाई ये सब विश्वास करंती कि नहीं किए कहिबो किंतु दिने हेले तांको ठारू माड़ खाइबा दूरे थाउ से टिकिए हेले धमक मध्य देई नांती। अथच सचिन भाई ठारू सुनिथिली से भारी क्षणकोपी होई पारे। से स्वभाव रे शांत हेतु घटना क्रमे क्षणकरे खूब रागी जाई पर क्षण रे शांत शीतल होई जाउथिबे। मांक निकटरू सुनिछि मठ जीवन आरंभ रे सेही सरल निरीह स्वभाव हेतु ठाकुर सुधानंद महाराज को खूब सुख पाती। ठाकुरंकर राग मध्य अनुपम थिला। ता पूर्वर कहा जाइछि। से सामान्य कारण रे अग्निशर्मा होई कटुक्ति करंदी। से कालर मठवासी अनेक ताहार प्रत्यक्षदर्शी। पर अवश्य ठाकुरंकर एभाव बदली जाइतिला। जा हेउ परे एभली कोनोसी कारणरू ठाकुर रागी जाई सुधानंद महाराज को बहुत तिरस्कार कले। तांकर उग्रमूर्ति देखि सेतबेले मठर भैरवी माँ मध्य तांको निकटकू जीवाकू साहस करि नथिले। एतिकी बेले घरर कबाट टिकिए मेला होई गला। मने मने टिके आश्चर्य होई ठाकुर से आड़कू चाहिले। ताहार एते साहस जे क्षणक पूर्वरु तांकर रुष्ट गर्जन शुणी मध्य पुणी तांको निकटकू आसुछि। चाहि देखिले कबाट फांकरे सुधानंद महाराजंकर निर्विकार प्रसन्न मुख उंकी मारुछि। ठाकुरंक आखिरे आखि पड़ी जिवारु प्रश्न कले सुधानंद बाबा वर्तमान कौन जोरहाट जीव। ठाकुर राग भूली गले। तांकर हास्यर उद्रेक हैला। लोकटा कौन कि एई क्षणी परा एते गाली गुलज खाउथिला पुणी आसी डाकुची बाबा बोली। हस चापी रखी ठाकुर गंभीर मुखरे कहले मो आगु आसवाक तोते लज्जा लागु नहीं। घरु बाहरी जा जेपरी किछि होई नहीं। एई भली भाव नहीं कबाट को धीरे आउ जाई आनी सुधानंद महाराज सेठारु चली गले। एठारे सत्य भाई कथा मध्य कही रखे। अंतेवासी मानक मध्य प्रज्ञानंद महाराज मोर पूर्वर परिचित। नूतन मानक मध्य जो दुई जनक कथा मोर मने अछि से मानक मध्यरु जणे हेले सुधानंद भाई और अन्य जनक सत्य भाई। वर्तमान स्वामी सत्यानंद सरस्वती महाराज सेतेबेले मठर सत्य चैतन्य ब्रह्मचारी। ठाकुर गोटे स्थान रे कहिसंती मठर पिला मानक मध्य अवनी बड़ वैदांतिक जीवनीय वाणी। मु प्रकृत रे तांको वैदांतिक भूमिका रे ही देखिछि। एक तो तांकर केश और निशदाड़ी समाच्छन्न मुख तदुपरि सर्वदा एपरी गंभीर भाव रे थांती जे तांको देखिला मात्रे मोर पळाइबाकू इच्छा हुए। बाबा तांको जे अवनी बोली डाकंती ताहा आसन बारंडारे प्रथम दिन बसिथिला बेले सुनिथिली। सचिन भाई ठारू मध्य सही नामटी सुनिली। अवनी भाई हस्तरे चांगुड़ी भरा फूल आसन घरे पशी से नाली मंदार दे आसन सजाउछंती। तांकर नाम सहित ए स्मृति संलग्न। सही राशि फूलरू गोटे दुईटा भल फूल पाती कि अवनी भाई जेभली गंभीर मुख करिथांती सेथिरे तांकु किए बा मागिबो रे बाबा। सर्वदा गंभीर होई रहिबा जदि वैज्ञानिकर लक्षण बोली धरा जाए ताले निसंदेह रे कहिबाकू हेबो जे ତାହା ତାଙ୍କର ଆୟତ ହୋଇଥିଲା। ଦୁଃଖର କଥା ସେଥି ଯୋଗୁଁ ତାଙ୍କ ପ୍ରତି ମୋର ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧା ଜନ୍ମେ ନାହିଁ। ଟିକେ କମ୍ ବୈଜ୍ଞାନିକ ହୋଇଥିଲେ 2-4ଟା ଫୁଲ ମାଗି ପାରିଥାନ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଦିନେ ରାତ୍ରିରେ ଟିକେ ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧାର ଉଦୟ ହେଲା। ରାତ୍ରି ସେତେବେଳକୁ 11:30 ହେବ। ଅଧଘଣ୍ଟାରୁ ଅଧିକ ହେବ ସାରା ମଠ ନିସ୍ତବ୍ଧ ହୋଇଗଲାଣି। ଠାକୁର ଶୋଇବାକୁ ଗଲେଣି। ମା ମାନେ ଭୋଜନ ଶେଷ କରି ମୋରି ବିଛଣା ପାଖରେ ପଞ୍ଚବଟିରେ ବସି କଥାବାର୍ତ୍ତା ହେଉଥାନ୍ତି। ମୁଁ ଅର୍ଦ୍ଧନିଦ୍ରିତ। ହଠାତ୍ କାହାର ଗୀତ ଶୁଣି ମୋର ନିଦ୍ରା ଭଙ୍ଗ ହେଲା। দাঁড়িয়ে আছো তুমি আমার গানের উপারে, আমার সুরগুলি পায়ে চরণ আমি পাই না তোমারে। উৎকଳାনুবাদ। মোহরি গানର ପରପାରରେ ତୁମେ ରହିଛ ଦଣ୍ଡାୟମାନା, ସୁର ମୋର ତବ ଚରଣ ଛୁଉଁଛି କିନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ ତୁମକୁ ପାଏ ନା। ପୂର୍ବ ଦିଗର ପୁଷ୍କରଣୀ ଆଡୁ ସ୍ୱର ଭାସି ଆସୁଥାଏ। ସ୍ତବ୍ଧ ନିଶିଥରେ କେଉଁ ସୁରେଶ୍ୱରଙ୍କ ଉଦ୍ଦେଶ୍ୟରେ ନିବେଦିତ ଏହି ଗାନର ଅର୍ଘ୍ୟ ମଠର ବାୟୁମଣ୍ଡଳକୁ ସାମଧ୍ୱନି ପରିପୂରିତ ତପୋବନ ମହିମାରେ ଉନ୍ନୀତ କରି ସେ ପାରିରେ ଯେ ପହଞ୍ଚାଉଥିଲା ଏଥିରେ ସନ୍ଦେହ ନାହିଁ। ପରଦିବସ ପ୍ରାତଃ କାଳରେ ସୁନେଲି ରଙ୍ଗର ମଠାୟତନ ଝଲମଲ ଦିଶୁଥାଏ। ପାଇଖାନାରୁ ଫେରି ମାର୍ଜନ ହସ୍ତରେ ଧରି ଚୌକିରେ ବସି ଠାକୁର ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ କଲେ, କାଲି ରାତ୍ରିରେ କିଏ ଗୀତ ଗାଉଥିଲା ରେ ସଚିନ? ସେ ଉତ୍ତର କଲେ, ଅବନୀ ଭାଇ। ବା, ଅବନୀ ତ ରବି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ଗାନ ଭଲ ଗାଉଛି କହି ଠାକୁର ହାତରେ ଦନ୍ତ ମାର୍ଜନ କରିବାକୁ ଲାଗିଲେ। ସାରସ୍ୱତ ମଠ ସହିତ ପ୍ରାଚୀନ ସନ୍ନ୍ୟାସୀ ବ୍ରହ୍ମଚାରୀ ମାନଙ୍କ ମଧ୍ୟରୁ ଅଧିକାଂଶଙ୍କ ଆଧ୍ୟାତ୍ମ ଜୀବନରେ ପ୍ରଥମ ପଦାର୍ପଣରେ ସ୍ମୃତି ଜଡ଼ିତ ରହିଛି। ପ୍ରଜ୍ଞାନନ୍ଦ ଭାଇ
ଏଇଠି ଥାଉ, ନହେଲେ ଟିକେ ଇଏ ବଡ ପାରାଗ୍ରାଫ ଅଛି,
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ସମୟ ଲାଗିବ। ଆଜ୍ଞା ଏଇଠି ଥାଉ।
ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ। 220 ପୃଷ୍ଠାରୁ ରହିଲା।
ହଁ 220 ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବା ନେକ୍ସଟ ଟାଇମ୍।
ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ।
ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ। Yeah, I'll try to quickly summarize what Gurudas I read today. Basically, this is a continuation of Ma's stay at Matha. So one of the places Ma has mentioned that the amount of experience and so special moments she experienced at Matha. She was there only for 3 months, but it felt like it was so lively that she could experience. Bhai, सुनाओ
आज्ञा भाई।
Yeah, see, one place she has mentioned that she had so much of fun that that could only be possible in 3 years, even though she was there only for 3 months. So continuing here, what Bhai just read, Thakura's schedule at the Matha was pretty defined, and so. He would read, different kind of newspapers and magazines during the day, and usually in the evenings after the puja, he would talk with the residents. He would tell them a lot of stories, even his own life stories. Lilama would be present and listening to these stories. That she was afraid of going outside in the dark. Usually the kids wouldn't be there, but she would always be there. She talks about Akshaya Tritiya that was celebrated toward the end of month of Baisakha. So the festivities continues for 3 days. Satyabhai used to do perform the puja every day, and by the way, he used to be known as Abanida, which Ma again later mentions that. And one unique incident happens during the first day of the puja. Satyabhai was performing the puja inside. Thakura was reading Devi Gita intensely. All of a sudden, Thakura came out of the room and asked Lilama to swing the chamara, which was hanging next to her. And she felt very happy that Thakura himself had asked her to perform that seva. And she also mentioned, playfully that she felt a little bit of pride within as Thakura himself picked her again to do the seva. She sung the chamara really hard to match that of the sound of the drum. And after a little bit, she started feeling, pain in her hands because the chamara was quite heavy. It was not a toy. Even though it was painful, she couldn't stop it. Thakura was standing next to her, and Thakura realized that she was going through the pain, and then he took the chamar from her and started swinging it himself, and that was quite a sight to behold, as Math says. Thakura looked exactly like Lord Shiva at that moment. In the next moment, as he was performing this seva, Ma could visualize him as one of the Sakhis from the Nityadhama performing that seva. After a bit, Thakura dropped the chamara and sat down, like everyone else and started staring intensely at Asanavedi. A few tears flew down from his eyes. Maho had never seen Thakura in that state. So Thakura, being a simple sevaka, that day as Thakura would address himself, Bhakta Padaravinda Bhikkhu Dinanigavananda. Lirama described about listening to Sankaracharya play once, and that play was played during the evening. That day, Thakura, as before Maha said, Thakura used to like Girish Ghosh, any plays written by Girish Ghosh. So Sankaracharya play was played out on that day. Thakura played the role of Sankaracharya, and everyone read text from their roles. Siddhananda Maharaj, and as Ma specifically calls out, Siddhananda Maharaj played the role of Sankara's mother, Vasishtha, and Satyabhai did the role of Padmapada. And Ma also talks about a little bit about Siddhananda Maharaj himself. He was, at that time, he was no longer a resident of Matha, but many newcomers coming to the Matha did not like him. Ma was not sure why that was. So Ma had stopped, around that time, Ma had stopped studying as she was enjoying everything in Matha, and she had totally, given up, studying. So Thakura became really concerned. And he had asked Siddhananda Maharaj to take that responsibility and then, teach Lilama. Out of fear, Ma would complete her lessons sincerely for a few days, but after some time, she grew out of her fear, and she would not listen to Siddhananda Maharaj. But Siddhananda Maharaj was very kind. He never got mad at her, had a lot of affection toward her. And Ma started, again, Siddhananda Maharaj would never get mad, but however, she had heard from Sachin Bhai that he was very short-tempered. And Ma could, Ma thought that, okay, he was so calm that probably one of, sometimes his frustration might have come out as anger, but next moment he would become, very calm. Again, Ma mentions that Thakura himself was very short-tempered. The residents of Matha had never, had seen it many times. For some reason, Thakura got really mad at Siddhananda Maharaj once. Ma mentions about that. And seeing that Thakura was upset, Bodama herself didn't go near Thakura. However, Siddhananda Maharaj did not feel bad at all. And toward the end of the day, he came and, stood behind the door and asked Thakura whether Thakura was ready to go to Jorat. And Thakura couldn't stop, from smiling, because a few moments ago, Thakura had gotten mad at him, but he never, had any feelings toward that. So Siddhananda, but Thakura, kind of, showed that he was still angry and asked him to leave the place. And Thakura, Siddhananda Maharaj, without saying anything, he just left the place. And then later, Ma also talks about Satyabhai, Satyananda Maharaj, and talks about how grave he was. He would, he had a beard and mustache and everything. So he always he always looked very serious. So Ma never liked him because of that. But later on, that she had started liking him. Ma also mentions about the song that Satyabhai sang, and Thakura inquired about that, and it was really a nice song. And then of course. Later on, we'll read from the next section. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Jai Guru. অন্ধারি জীবন মেঘে তুমি ধ্রুব তারাত দরসা পথ মোরে হেলে পথ হরাত অন্ধারি জীবন মেঘে তুমি ধ্রুব তারাত দরসা পথ মোরে হেলে পথ হরাত দরসা পথ মোরে হেলে পথ হরাত রবি শশী গ্রহ তারা তুমরি কিরণে ভরা রবি শশী গ্রহ তারা তুমরি কিরণে ভরা পরাণর সাথী একা তুমে সিনা চিরত পরাণর সাথী একা তুমে সিনা চিরত দরসা পথ মোরে এলে পথ হরাত দরসা পথ মোরে এলে পথ হরাত তুমে মাতা তুমে পিতা তুমে বন্ধু তুমে ভ্রাতা তুমে মাতা তুমে পিতা তুমে বন্ধু তুমে ভ্রাতা তুম বিনে সাহা কেহি নাহি প্রভু মোর তুম বিনে সাহা কেহি নাহি প্রভু মোর দরসা পথ মোরে এলে পথ হরাত দরসা পথ মোরে এলে পথ হরাত অন্ধারি জীবন মেঘে তুমে ধ্রুব তারাত অন্ধারি জীবন মেঘে তুমে ধ্রুব তারাত দরসা পথ মোরে এলে পথ হরাত দরসা পথ মোরে এলে পথ হরাত তুমে বরা ভয় দাতা তিনি ভুবন করতা তুমে বরা ভয় দাতা তিনি ভুবন করতা জীবন মরণ সবু তুমরি বিধান জীবন মরণ সবু তুমরি বিধান দরসা পথ মোরে এলে পথ হরাত দরসা পথ মোরে এলে পথ হরাত যাবত জনম ভার ভেটুছি মুঘে না কর প্রভু যাবত জনম ভার ভেটুছি মুঘে না কর চরণে শরণ দিয়া গতিয় গতিরত চরণে শরণ দিয়া गति अगतिरत दरसा पथ मोरे हेले पथ हरात दरसा पथ मोरे हेले पथ हरात अंधारी जीवन मेघे तुम्हें ध्रुव तारात अंधारी जीवन मेघे तुम्हें ध्रुव तारात दरसा पथ मोरे हेले पथ हरात दरसा पथ मोरे हेले पथ हरात दरसा पथ मोरे हेले पथ हरात। जय
Jai Guru, Yogi Guru, Prana Tattva. The aforesaid Hansa sound in Anahadara Padma is called Prana Tattva. Sabda Brahma Meti Tam Praha Saksha Deva Sadashiva Anahetu Chakresu Sa Sabda Parikartyate Parimala Lulasa. That is, Sabda is Brahma. He himself is Lord Shadasiv. The Sabda is present in Anahata Chakra. The sound Hansa is produced in Anahata Chakra. The sound Hansa is Prana of Om. Hankara cha Shankara cha Lope Yutatva Tatparam Sandhim Kurta Yata Paschat Pranavi So Mahamanu Yoga Sarva Yodaya. It means that Soham is the opposite of Hansa. If Sa and Ha are omitted, Om is only left. This Om, the self of Sabda Brahma, is present in the region of heart. Sadhaka is deeply interested to share Prana Dhvani. Om will perform Kriya, yogic practice, in 12 petal Anahat Padma facing upward on the advice of Guru. Then only Hansa or sound of Om will be heard. Apart from this Sabda Brahma Om, there is another Varna, color Brahma Om. It is eternally present in Nilambavapuri, space having no support, above Agya Chakra. Two-petaled and white-colored Agya Chakra is present between the two eyebrows. The space above this chakra, where Susumna Nadi ends and Sankhani Nadi begins, is called Nilambavapuri. That is a space of radiantly shining Taraka Brahma. Here is the present Taraka via Pranava. Om, anchored to Brahma Nadi. This Pranava is the self of Brahma described by the Vedas and combined form of Shiva Shakti akin to Pranava. The sound of Shiva is Ha. Its shape is like the trunk of an elephant. That is like the shape of O. In the lap of O is present Devi goddess in the form of Nada's sound. On it is present Pranav Shiva in the form of Dot. Thus Om is formed. Therefore Om embodies the union of Shiva Shakti and Prakriti. In Tantra, the physical form Om is manifested as Mahavidya or Raja Rajeshwari, the supreme queen of queens. The elaborate illustration of its hidden mystery is not the topic of this book. If a sadhaka passes through the Sata Chakra, 6 chakras, by performing yoga sadhanas and riches, Nilambavapuri being anchored to Brahmanada, he can visualize the brightly shining Brahma or Om or its own Ishtadeva and attain Nirvana. If the sadhaka performs sadhana knowing Pranava Tattva, the self of Brahma envisaged in the Vedas as Vija of all gods and goddesses, he can visualize the illuminating god and goddesses in the place of Taraka Brahma. Then he need not travel from one holy place to another and undertake unnecessary painful austerities. Om is the other name of Pranava. Om has 3 forms, white, yellow, and red. The combination of A, O, and Ma makes Pranava. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara inherently attached to inhabit in Pranava. Shivo Brahma Tattvam Vishnu Onkare Cha Pratishtita Akarascha भवे ब्रह्म उखार सच्चिदानंदात्मक मकारो रुद्र ityukta. Ah is Brahma, who is Vishnu, Ma is Maheshwara. Therefore, in Pranav are present three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Three powers, will, action and knowledge. Three gunas, Sattva, Raja and Tama. So it is called Trai, the trio. It is mentioned in scriptures, Trai Dharma Sadaphala. That is, Pranav Dharma, consisting of three sounds, Trayo, Hu and Ma, is always giver of result. He who performs the japa of Gayatri, added pranava and three attributes, attend the supreme state. Japa of Gayatri or Ishta mantra becomes futile unless it is performed without adding three pranava in the japa of Gayatri by Brahmins or without setting up setu bridge by pranava at the beginning and at the end of Ishta mantra. The Brahmins of our country perform the japa of Gayatri adding pranava at two places, at the beginning and at the end of Gayatri, but it is against scripture. Japa should be performed by adding pranava at three places, that is at the beginning, after Viharati, and at the end. It has been told earlier that Pranav consists of three sounds, U, U, and Ma. In the Pranav, the sound is the self of Nada, U is the self of Vindu, Ma is the self of Kala, and Om is the light, self of light. During sadhana, sadhakas at first hear Nada and become covetous of it, then for Vindu, therefore for Kala, and eventually witness light. Pranava comprises Ashta Anga, 8 limbs, Trishtan, 3 places, and Chatuspada, 4 feet, Pancha Devata, 5 gods, etc., and several more hidden mysteries. But the subject of this book does not aim at presenting detailed tattvas or elaborate interpretations of all this. Joy Guru.
ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଆମର ଆଉ 4 ମିନିଟ୍ ଅଛି। ସକାଳେ ଯେଉଁ ସଂଘର୍ଷ ପଢ଼ା ହେଉଥିଲା ସିନେମା ପଢ଼ୁଥିଲେ ତାର ଆଉ 2ଟା ପୃଷ୍ଠା ରହିଯାଇଛି, ଖାଲି ପଢ଼ିଦେଉଛି ଆ ଭିତରେ। ଆଜି ପଢ଼ା ହେଲା ଭକ୍ତି ଉପରେ ପଢ଼ା ହେଉଥିଲା, ତାପରେ ପୂଜା କେମିତି ମାନସ ପୂଜା କରିବ, ମାନସ ପୂଜା ହେଲା ଶ୍ରେଷ୍ଠ ଏମିତି କହିକି ତାପରେ କଣ୍ଟିନ୍ୟୁ କରୁଛି। ସେଇଟା ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନାକାରୀ ମାନେ ଭଗବାନ ଠାରେ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ଆତ୍ମସମର୍ପଣ କରି ସାଧନ ପଥରେ ଅଗ୍ରସର ହେବା ବିଧେୟ। ଏହି ଆତ୍ମସମର୍ପଣ ଭାବ ଥିଲେ ଉପାସନା ବନ୍ଦନାରେ ପ୍ରକୃତ ଫଳ ଲାଭ ହୋଇଥାଏ। ଯେଉଁମାନେ ନିୟମିତ ସାଧନା ଭଜନ କରନ୍ତି ଅର୍ଥାତ୍ ସେମାନଙ୍କର ଆତ୍ମୋନ୍ନତି ହେଉନାହିଁ, ସେଥିରୁ ବୁଝିବାକୁ ହେବ ଯେ ସେମାନଙ୍କ ଅନ୍ତରରେ ଆତ୍ମସମର୍ପଣ ଭାବ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତେ ଆତ୍ମପ୍ରତାରଣା ବା ଅହଙ୍କାର ଭାବ ଜାଗ୍ରତ ହୋଇଉଠିଛି। ସବୁଠାରେ ଆତ୍ମପ୍ରତାରିତ ଲୋକ ଅଛନ୍ତି। ସମର୍ପଣକାରୀ ସାଧକମାନଙ୍କ ଜୀବନରେ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କ ଅସ୍ତିତ୍ୱରେ ଅବିଶ୍ୱାସ ଓ ସଂଶୟ ନଥାଏ, ଭଗବତ ନିର୍ଭରତା ଥାଏ। ସେଥିରେ ସେମାନେ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କ ପ୍ରତି ନିର୍ଭରତା ରଖି ସ୍ୱଧର୍ମ ଆଚରଣ ପଥରେ ଗତି କରନ୍ତି। ନିର୍ଭରଶୀଳ ସାଧକମାନଙ୍କର ନିକଟରେ ଭଗବାନ ସ୍ୱୟଂ ଆତ୍ମସ୍ୱରୂପ ପ୍ରକାଶ କରିଥାନ୍ତି। ଯେଉଁମାନେ ସାଧନ ପଥରେ ଗତି କରିବେ ସେମାନେ ନିଜକୁ ନିଜ ହାତରେ ନ ରଖି ଭଗବାନଙ୍କ ହାତରେ ନିଜର ସମସ୍ତ ଭାର ଛାଡ଼ି ଦେଇ ତାଙ୍କ ଆଦେଶରେ ତାଙ୍କର ପ୍ରିୟ କର୍ମର ଅନୁଷ୍ଠାନ କରିବା ବିଧେୟ। ଭଗବତ ସାନ୍ନିଧ୍ୟ ଲାଭ ନିମିତ୍ତ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା ହିଁ ପ୍ରଧାନ ଅବଲମ୍ବନ। ଭଗବତ କୃପା ସମଭାବରେ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କ ଉପରେ ବର୍ଷିତ ହେଉଛି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଯେଉଁମାନେ ମୁମୁକ୍ଷୁ ଅର୍ଥାତ୍ ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କର କୃପା ଲାଭ ନିମିତ୍ତ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳ ଭାବରେ ପ୍ରତୀକ୍ଷା କରିଛନ୍ତି ସେଇମାନେ ହିଁ ସେହି କୃପାବାରୀ ପାନ କରି ପ୍ରାଣ ଧାରଣ କରିଥାନ୍ତି। ବହୁ ଭାଗ୍ୟ ଫଳରେ ଭଗବତ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା ଆସେ। ଭଗବତ କୃପା ବିଶେଷତଃ ଭଗବତ କୃପା ବ୍ୟତୀତ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା ଆସେ ନାହିଁ। ଭଗବାନଙ୍କୁ ଅନ୍ତରରେ ଉପଲବ୍ଧି କରି ତାଙ୍କ ସେବା କରିବାର ଭଗବାନଙ୍କୁ ଅନ୍ତରରେ ଉପଲବ୍ଧି କରି ତାଙ୍କ ସେବା କରିବାର ତୀବ୍ର ଇଚ୍ଛା ହିଁ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତାର ନାମାନ୍ତର। ଭକ୍ତମାନେ ଏହାକୁ ସେବା ଅଭିଳାଷ କହନ୍ତି। ଭକ୍ତି, ନିଷ୍ଠା, ସାଧୁସଙ୍ଗ, ଶାସ୍ତ୍ରପାଠ ଓ ଶ୍ରୀଗୁରୁଦେବଙ୍କ ସେବା ଦ୍ୱାରା ଏହି ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା ବର୍ଦ୍ଧିତ ହୁଏ। ଭକ୍ତମାନଙ୍କ ପକ୍ଷରେ ଭଗବତ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା ବା ବିରହ ବେଦନା ମହାସୌଭାଗ୍ୟ ସୂଚକ। ଭଗବତ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା ବୃଦ୍ଧି ନିମିତ୍ତ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କର ଯେକୌଣସି ନାମର ଆଶ୍ରୟ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରିବା ଏକାନ୍ତ କର୍ତ୍ତବ୍ୟ। ଏହି ନାମ ଶ୍ରୀଗୁରୁଦେବଙ୍କ ନିକଟରୁ ଲାଭ କରିବା ହିଁ ଆବଶ୍ୟକ। ସାଧାରଣ ଗୁରୁ ନାମ ଦିଅନ୍ତି କର୍ଣ୍ଣରେ, କିନ୍ତୁ ଜଗତଗୁରୁ ନାମ ଦିଅନ୍ତି ପ୍ରାଣରେ। ଭକ୍ତମାନେ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କର ଯେଉଁ ନାମ ରୂପକୁ ସୁଖ ପାଆନ୍ତି ସେହି ନାମ ରୂପ ଅବଲମ୍ବନ କରି ଉପାସନା କରିବା ବିଧେୟ। ନାମ ଓ ନାମୀ ଅଭିନ୍ନ। ନାମର ସିଦ୍ଧ ଦଶାରେ ଭାବର ଉଦୟ ହୁଏ, ତ तेणु सर्वदा भगवान नाम तन्मय होई कर्म करिवा दरकार। बाह्य देह द्वारा शरीर रक्षा निमित्त कर्म करने एवं अंतर रे जेपरि तांको नाम जप हुए सेप्रति लक्ष्य दे साधन पथरे गति करने को पड़ो। जो माने यही पथरे गति करेंगे से पक्षे समभावापन्न साधक किंबा गुरु भाई मान संग करने एकांत आवश्यक। साधु संग कले विश्वास दृढ़ीभूत हुए, सेवारे निष्ठा वृद्धि पाए, साधन पथर अंतराय मान विदृत हो जाए। प्राथमिक साधक माने केबेले विरुद्ध भावपन्न साधक मान संग लाभ करने उचित नुहे। साधु संग एकत्र हेले प्रार्थना वंदना पर शास्त्र पाठ अवश्य कर्तव्य। साधक मान जीवनर अभिज्ञता, साधनार इतिहास, साधनार फल समस्त ही शास्त्र समृद्ध हो रही अछि। ज्ञानी मानकर ज्ञान और साधक मानकर साधन लब्ध तत्व शास्त्र लिपिबद्ध थाए। भक्ति श्रद्धापूर्वक नियमित भाव में शास्त्र पाठ करें से रुचि जात हुए, रुचि निष्ठा जात हुए। तेणु साधु संगे शास्त्र आलोचना साधक अवश्य कर्तव्य। प्रार्थना संगीत पूजा
बीजा खिलो चारी पार थिला पीराती पानती बारी। बीजा खिलो चारी पार थिला पीराती पानती बारी। कमल चरण पराई दिलाए, कमल चरण पराई दिलाए। सब सुख कलापुरी, सब सुख कलापुरी। बीजा खिलो हरि पार थिला पीराती प्राण सेवा। रजनी रे काउथिला पिक, रजनी रे काउथिला पिक। महिर सूरज पुनिला लोक, महिर सूरज पुनिला लोक। आलोक धरे कुआरी तरती, आलोक धरे कुआरी रती। नाचुथिला मन भारी, नाचुथिला मन भारी। पिता खिलो झरी पड़ुथिला छाती चना करे चाहे दिल्ली दूरे, छाती चना करे चाहे दिल्ली दूरे। उदास मन रे प्रीति बस भरे, उदास मन रे प्रीति बस भरे। वंदन करे से कमल चरण, वंदन करे से कमल चरण। कोटि दंडवत करी, कोटि दंडवत करी। बीजा खिलो चारी पार थिला पीराती प्राणती बारी। ए चरणु झरे कोटि काय बल्य, ए चरणु झरे कोटि काय बल्य। ए चरणु झरे आशीष विपुला, ए चरणु झरे आशीष विपुला। पड़सी पड़सी छड़िया से जेते, बरसी बरसी जरिया से जीते सुख सौभाग्य रे सुख सौभाग्य रे बीजा चिलुह चरी करुथिला तिरती प्रणति बारी होली काली प्रिय निज कुशे काले होली काली प्रिय निज कुशे काले गुरु गौरव विभव सकले गुरु गौरव विभव सकले जीवन फूल मो एही पद तले जीवन फूल मो एही पद तले देयुछि अंजलि भरी देयुछि अंजलि भरी बीजा किलुह जरी पारुथिला तिरते प्राण से हरि तुम्हें मो भरोसा तुम प्रीति भरसा तुम्हें मो भरोसा तुम प्रीति भरसा जीवन पथरे मोर चिराशय जीवन पथरे मोर चिराशय ए पूजा विधि रे तुम प्रेम रेणु ए पूजा विधि रे तुम प्रेम रेणु मो माथरे परुझारी मो माथरे परुझारी बीजा खिलुह झरी परुथिला तिरति प्रणति बारी कमल चरण पराई देला रे कमल चरण पराई देला रे सबु सुख कला पूरी सबु सुख कला पूरी बीजा खिलुह जरी करुथिला पिरति प्रणति बारी पिरति प्रणति बारी पिरति प्रणति बारी एक
Jai Guru, young aspirants. We'll start with attendance, and then I'll ask Shrija to explain the meaning of the song she just sang. Aditi?
Jai Guru, Aditi Arnab Aschandi.
Jai Guru. Adhyasa?
Ma Jai Guru, ma Adhyasa Divya Maji Basnati. Adhyasa Ghare nahi.
Jai Guru. I see. Next one in here. Anik?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Ansh? Anshu?
Daddy.
Arnab?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru, okay. Aryan?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Ashrita?
Jai Guru Munima.
Jai Guru. Jamu? Divya, not there. Timmy? Jagrat?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Naitik?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Nivriti?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Pratisha? Pratyush?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Pikku?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Sandhi?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Sharanya?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru Saraswat.
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru Sharla.
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru Sarthak. Bobby.
Ma Bobby join karni. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Shilpi.
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Manu. Jimmy.
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Simran.
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru Shrija.
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru Suhani.
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru Yukta.
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Is there anyone I missed or who came in after I called? Okay. If not, Shrija, can you go ahead and explain the meaning of the song you just sang?
Speaker, sure. The meaning of this song goes like this. We have offered millions of prayers before the lotus feet of Shishu Thakura. This auspicious moment was witnessed by his tear-drenched eyes. The moment also saw the beautiful melody from the cuckoos last night and the ecstatic sunrise of the dawn. All these give solace to the grief-stricken heart. His lotus feet bestows only unconditional love, affection, prosperity, and fortune. I lost my existence in the abundance of his blessings and giving my life as divine offering under his feet. You are my hope. Your loving words are my guiding angel. I wish nothing less than your blessings be bestowed on me for the eternity. Jacob.
Jai Guru. It's a beautiful song. Again, with all of our songs, they express devotion and how that feels and what that looks like and gives us imagery to discuss that in ways that these are concepts and things that are hard to understand, but in these songs, the imagery brought upon by these songs, these are good ways to explain how that devotion feels and what that's like. And like it says, all we ask for is to be able to serve him, to be able to be with him, to be who he wants us to be. So that transitioning into what we are talking about today. Today we're going to be reading, there is a book called Amikiche. It's translated in English as What I Expect. And in here, there are a few quotes by Thakura where he, which we can think of as, advice or an understanding of things that he's told us that he wants us to do, what he wants us to be. We often talk about in this session, as we're reading various things about Thakura, we often talk about how in our spiritual journey, what we want to do is we want to trust in Thakura, we want to be closer to Thakura. When we talk about what we should be doing in our lives, we say to go ahead in the spiritual journey, we should be following the things that Thakura wants us to do. If we have our faith in him, if we follow his advice, if we live our life the way that he tells us to, then we'll naturally progress, as is our goal. And so in this book, we'll be reading advice and discussing and maybe pulling in information from other sources, other things he said, to give us some context for the advice that he's giving us and to help us understand exactly what he expects of us and exactly how we fulfill the goals that he has for us. So with that, these passages are very short. There are a few sentences, but there is a lot for us to discuss. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead, if you all have the reading out, you'll notice, so we have, we'll go one quote at a time. So we'll start with just the first quote. So where it says preface, and there's 3 lines there, that first quote. Let's see. Yukta, would you mind reading us that first quote?
Yes, I can.
From you, I expect nothing. I only want to see your smiling face when you look gloomy and depressed. It aches my heart. If all of you keep your hearts already filled with trifles, where shall I sit then? Please make a provision for my accommodation. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. So this is kind of in the beginning of this book. It's directly something Thakur said. It's translated, of course. And so he says exactly in this what he expects of us. So let's discuss that. So what did he say? What does Thakur say in this directly to us? What does he say that he expects of us? Nivritti? What did Thakur say he wants from us? Nivritti isn't there.
Jai Guru Ma, I'm not sure.
Okay, that's okay. How about Jagrath? What does Thakur say he expects of us?
Jai Guru. He expects of us to keep our hopes up and to have smiling faces. If we're sad most of the time, then he just feels sad for us because of our depression, Jai Guru.
No, you're right. Thakur wants us to be happy. He wants, and I'm glad you elaborated. He says very specifically, he feels sad. It troubles him when we are troubled. So what he expects of us is, as we said, he doesn't expect anything of us. He says he expects nothing. He just wants to see us happy. So that kind of relationship where all he wants of us is he wants us to see us joyful, and it hurts him to see us hurt and in pain. Does anyone and this is, a way of him expressing his love for us. Jeet, where else do we experience this kind of love? When he tells us he only wants to see us happy, and it pains him to see us in pain. Where else do we feel that? How do we understand that love? What is that like? Or do you experience that or have those same feelings about other people, and where does that come up?
I think we also experience the same feelings for like our loved ones, like our parents, our siblings, our family, and just anyone else who we really care about. I agree.
Right. This is the love that we have for family. This is the love that you have for your siblings, your parents, your friends. Thakur is our family, and we talk about him like we talk about our. We talk about viewing him as like a parent. Our parents love us in the same way. If you have your siblings, your loved ones, you also don't have necessarily expectations. You just want them to be happy, and you want to and it pains you to see them when they're upset. And so truly what this is we experience it and we express it in some ways through this unconditional love. And we do that in small ways, and we experience that in some ways in our families. But this is true unconditional love from him. He truly does not expect anything else. So then in the second part, he mentions that he doesn't want our heart to be filled with trifles. What does that mean? Jimmy, what does that mean, that he doesn't want our heart to be filled with trifles?
Sure. He means that like he doesn't want us to have like any like pain or like any stress in our heart and stuff, and like basically saying that like we should like have our heart like clean and like not like focused on other stuff. Right.
Right. He doesn't want us to be stressing out about material things. He doesn't want us to be just stressed and worried about things that don't truly matter. He, like you said, he wants us to be clean and pure, and we've talked about that in other places. That's necessary for spiritual development. But also it links to what he said in the line before that. It also pains him when we're holding these things in our heart, and that's bringing us down. So then when he says, if we have our heart filled with those trifles, let's think about that. How does that prevent us from giving him space in our hearts if we're stressed and worried about material things? Naitik?
Jagarma, can you repeat the question?
Yes. So if our heart is filled with trifles, so if we're stressing out about things like material things, if we're worried, if we have a lot of other things going on that we're focusing on, how does that prevent us from giving space in our heart for Thakura?
Jagu, if our hearts are filled with stress and like a lot of worry, we don't have the mental focus to put all our devotions towards Thakura, and that in turn makes it so we can't worship Thakura as much. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru, exactly. So if we are so worried about other things, our mind isn't going to be there to focus on Thakura. So that, obviously what he wants us, one, doesn't want us to be worried, and two, we've talked about for this spiritual progression, we should be thinking of him. So how do we, doesn't say it here, but we've talked about it before. Arnav, how do we keep our hearts clean and unburdened by these other things and keep space for him? Arnav, are you there? You might be. You're unmuted now. I don't think you were before.
Jai Guru. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. So I was saying that to keep our heart pure, I think what you should do is to never get too stressed out about anything, never get too worried or sad about anything either, and always keeping Thakura in our heart. I agree.
Right. So we shouldn't worry so much about things going on around us and kind of maintain a stress-free thing. And, if we focus on Thakura in our hearts, we keep him there. That actually helps. If he's there and we're centered on him, that helps push away stress from other things happening. If we have that full faith in him, we've talked about before, that, these other things are going on in my life that might be stressful, and you just tell Thakura and you have full faith in him to guide you through it, then that can keep you calm. And in a way, just it's a loop, it's a cycle that by having faith in him, keeping him centered, he can also help push the stress away from anything external that might be happening. Okay, so with that, I think discuss this first quote that this opens with. Let's go ahead and move on to the first quote of advice that we have. So with this, we'll read the piece of advice, and then there's some more mentioned, some related things he said in Upadesha, so we'll read both of those and discuss it all together. Simran, can you read everything under where it says advice 1?
Sure. Advice 1. India is a land of religion. Be elevated spiritually in religion so as to assume the place of preceptors plus guru in the world. The Western world is making development and worldly prosperity. With them, you exchange your perspective well. Guru. Oh. Who would I expect? Bharat is the land of religion. Religion is Bharat's vital life force. The upheaval of Bharat is impossible in the presence of religion. If a sadhaka wants to attain the divine self, his objective should be to render service to the entire world as per the ideal established by God. Under no circumstances should my disciples and devotees be preoccupied by the spiritual objective of self-centered worship, which may be termed as hypocrisy. Their basic aim is the expansion of self. It is essential to expand the self from a tiny insect to the infinite Brahma. The expansion of self is a common man to confine to his own wife, son, and daughter, but let the entire universe be submerged in the self of yes. This is indeed my hope and blessing. Chico.
Very good. Thank you for reading that for us. So, before we get into it, it's important. So, Thakura says this, he said this in multiple places. It's in What I Expect, and I just pulled one quote from the Upadesha, but he mentions it in many places there, and in other texts he talks about India as the land of religion, and I think is important before we start discussing this is let's make sure we all remember when Thakura was saying these things and what that context was. So when he is talking about India and the West, Shilpi, can you help define what he's talking about in here when he's talking about India versus the Western world, and what influences of the Western world he's discussing in this comparison? Shilpi, are you there? How about Aditi? Aditi, in this
Jaigu, can you please repeat the question?
Yes, when Thakura talks about the Western world and in India being a land of religion, what is he talking about here? What is the comparison he's making?
Jaigu, he's talking about how, compared to India, the Western world focuses more on materialistic objects and kind of just like focuses people on only caring about those. And whereas India, he's comparing them and he's saying it's different and people focus on things that are more deep than just materialistic things. Jaigu.
Jaigu. So he's generally, when talking about India versus the West here, he's talking about India in the context of Hinduism and the great Hindu tradition that we have in spiritualism, and how that's within the culture and to the people that he was talking to, and we also have this, and it's what we're learning now. And then when he talks about the Western world, he's talking about specifically the Western influence, the British coming in his context. For us, we live in America, and we probably experienced this as well. And general pop culture, material things are given a lot more credence, a lot more importance here. Not to say that there is no spirituality in where we are, but he's talking about those general cultural norms. So when he talks about, there's a material nature of things and a deeper, more spiritual nature of things, which one, he then says it's up to us to have that knowledge exchange. So what is he expecting of us, as for all of us in this session, we're in America now, what is he expecting us to do as we live in this culture? What aspects of our culture are we supposed to be presenting out into the world? Aryan?
Jai Guru, I believe Thakur wants us to share our respective wealth. So he posits that India is a land of spiritual wealth and the West is a land of like material and physical wealth. And so we should exchange both with each other for like just generally a more prosperous lives and well-being.
Yes, and Aryan, follow up to that. How do you think we're supposed to do that? Living here in the Western world, all of us are growing up here. What do you think our way of doing that is?
I think our way of doing that is taking advantage of the material opportunities in the U.S., but also practicing and reading Thakur's teachings here and being earnest in our following, and also spreading his teachings, in the Western world. Jacob.
Right. So, I mean, we live here. We have a lot of educational opportunities. We have a lot of material opportunities, and we're integrated into society here, and we fully live our lives here. But we should still be spending our time pursuing spirituality, understanding Thakura, and doing all of these things. And as we do that, and we share that with people around us, within the Sangha, outside of the Sangha, and we live by these ideals, living this way in the society and interacting with people in the way that we know is the right way to do things, bringing our perspective in with a spiritual mindset. All of that will kind of spread our knowledge to those around us, even if we come from different backgrounds. And then going into, he mentions this again in Upadesha, he talks about one practice that we can do, which is he expects for us living in this world that we should be focusing on the expansion of the self. So what does he mean by the expansion of the self, and how do we go about doing that? Saraswat, what does Thakura mean by expansion of the self, and what are we supposed to do to achieve that?
Jair, I think what Thakura means is like to understand like that you are the soul, and then like the bigger aspect of the soul, instead of just thinking that, like, I think he means to think of yourself more broadly instead of just one thing. Jair?
Jair, sorry, one second. I'm just trying to get to where you can hear me a bit better. Yes, so it's what he's asking us to do is think of the world more broadly outside of ourselves. And I think one thing we can think about, and that we kind of discussed in the last quote, is we have this we talked about this kind of unconditional love that Thakura has for us, and what is mentioned here is he says this expansion of the self that he talks about is, for most people, they can do it within their families and not really beyond that. we talked about how this love that Thakura has for us is similar to the kind of love that we have for our family members, our loved ones, and people we really care about. And so that same kind of practice, that same kind of unconditional love, we've talked about this before, he is asking us to expand that outside of just our immediate family and kind of show that same care outside with us. So keeping that in mind, one last question, how do we engage in that expansion of self? How do we adhere to that and be an example to others around us in that way? Yukta, how do you think that we can practice this expansion of self and thinking of others in this way, the way that he's asked us to here?
To expand ourselves, we should be following Taka's teachings and integrating them into our lifestyle. Jagru?
Right. Yeah. So if we listen to his teachings, if we listen to his word, we spend more time with him experiencing his love, it becomes easier for us to fulfill those ideals as we are, as he is telling us to do. So with that, we are out of time. And I believe Vavunu is by Srija today. So Srija, when you're ready. Jai Guru.
Hey girl. Today I feel truly blessed and overjoyed as I have Pali Seva. This year I feel grateful to have received my Parichapatra, which makes me feel special as it officially recognizes me as a Waya in our Nikam family. My heart is eager knowing that each small act will be an offering at the feet of Thakura. Thakura is not only a great saint of the past, but also a constant companion in our present life. Every morning when I open my eyes, I feel the gentle presence of Thakura guiding me to begin the day with purity, gratitude, and peace. His teachings are not just a word from the past. They are like a soft lamp that lights my path every single day. When I rise early, keep my surroundings clean, and start my day with prayer, I remember his call for discipline. In the calmness of the morning, I feel my mind become clear, ready to welcome the day with joy. At school or at home, his message of truth and kindness reminds me to speak gently, act honestly, and treat everyone with respect. Even in the smallest things, like helping a friend, I feel he is silently watching and smiling when I choose the right path. When difficulties come like a hurtful word, a failed attempt, or a moment of fear, I think of his unshakable faith in God. His life teaches me not to give up, but to be patient, pray deeply, and trust that every challenge is a step towards inner strength. Thakura showed us that God is present in every act, big or small. Whether I'm studying, watering plants, or biking in nature, I remember that these two can be acts of devotion when done with love and mindfulness. His example of simplicity reminds me that happiness does not come from having more, but being content with what I have. This brings a calm joy to my heart and free from greed and restlessness. At the end of the day before sleeping, I think about his advice to reflect on my actions and to thank God for the good I have done and to promise to correct my mistakes tomorrow. In this way, every day becomes a chance to grow closer to him and God. Thakura is not just a saint from history. He is a living presence in my daily life, my silent guide, my source of courage, my reminder of truth, and my teacher of love. By following his footsteps, every moment becomes sacred and every day becomes a blessing. Thakura often spoke about the simplicity of life and the power of detachment. In a world filled with distractions, his teachings can be a spark of light for us children, teaching the value of simplicity. We learn to find joy in the simple activities, nature, and relationships that promote our well-being. This mindset cultivates gratitude, making us less likely to feel dissatisfied with our circumstances. Thakur also emphasized living a truth of honesty and integrity. He believed that spiritual progress is impossible without connecting to these principles. Understanding the importance of truthfulness, respecting others, and living with virtue can be transformative. The focus on virtue and truth encourages us to be fair, compassionate, and responsible, enhancing our interactions with others and contributing more to a more harmonious society. His teachings are like a guiding star, showing us how to live with purity, kindness, and faith from the moment we wake up to the moment we sleep. With this joy in my heart, I conclude my Prabhupada by humbly praying at his lotus feet to guide me on the path that will lead me even closer to him. Jacob.
ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଉଦିତା ମା ଶୁଣା ଯାଉନି।
ଆସୁଛନ୍ତି ମା ଏବେ
ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଆଜି ମୋର ପାଳି ସେବା ମୋର ମଙ୍ଗଳୀଙ୍କ ପାଳି ସେବା ଥିଲା। ଆଉ ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଆମେ ଜନ୍ମୋତ୍ସବ ଥିଲା, ମୁଁ ପ୍ରୋଗ୍ରାମ ଦେଖିଲି କି ଜନ୍ମୋତ୍ସବ ଠିକ ପରେ ହିଁ ମତେ ପାଳି ମିଳିଛି। ବହୁତ ଖୁସି ଲାଗିଲା, କାରଣ ପାଳିରେ ଆସିବାଟା ବେଳେବେଳେ ପସନ୍ଦ ହେଇପାରେନି। ଆଉ ଏକାଥରେ ଜନ୍ମୋତ୍ସବ ଏବଂ ପାଳି ପାଖାପାଖି ଥିବାରୁ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ବସି ତାଙ୍କର ଆଶୀର୍ବାଦ ବାଣୀ ଶୁଣିବାର ସୁଯୋଗ ମିଳିଲା, ତାଙ୍କ ଦର୍ଶନର ସୌଭାଗ୍ୟ ପ୍ରାପ୍ତ ହେଲା। ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା କରି ଠାକୁରେ ଆଉ କ'ଣ ବା କହିବି ମୁଁ ଜାଣିପାରୁନି। ଆପଣଙ୍କ କୃପାରୁ ଏମିତି ଆପଣଙ୍କ ପାଖକୁ ସର୍ବଦା ଆସିବାର ଏବଂ ଆପଣଙ୍କ କୃପା ଲାଭର ସୌଭାଗ୍ୟ ମିଳିଥାଉ। ଆପଣଙ୍କ ଛତ୍ର ଛାୟା ତଳେ ଆମ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ଆପଣ ସ୍ଥାନ ଦେଇଥାନ୍ତୁ। ସର୍ବଶେଷରେ ଆମ ସଂଘର କେମିତି ସର୍ବାଦ ମଙ୍ଗଳ କାମନା କରୁଛି। ଠିକ କରୁଛି। ଜୟଗୁରୁ।
ନିମନ୍ତ୍ରଣ ମଧ୍ୟାହ୍ନ ଭୋଗ ପାଇଁ ନିମନ୍ତ୍ରଣ ମା। ଆଉ ଆପଣ ଯଦି କହିବେ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଗୋଲ୍ସ କ'ଣ, ମାନେ କ'ଣ କ'ଣ ମାନେ ମାନିବେ ଏ ବର୍ଷ?
ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଶ୍ରୀ ଠାକୁର ମହାରାଜ ଆଉ ଜାଣତରେ ଅଜାଣତରେ ତ ବହୁତ ଭୁଲ ତ୍ରୁଟି ଅପରାଧ ହେଇଯାଉଛି।
ଜୟଗୁରୁ ନା ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି?
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ହଁ, ଆପଣ ଦିଟା କହିବେ କ'ଣ ମାନେ ଆପଣ ମାନିବେ ଏ ବର୍ଷ? ବ୍ରଜ ଭାଇ କହିଛନ୍ତି ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ ସଙ୍ଗସେବୀ କହିବେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ କୋଉ ଜିନିଷଟା ସେମାନେ ମାନିବେ, ଆଉ ତାପରେ ଆପଣ କରିବେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ମଧ୍ୟାହ୍ନ ଭୋଗ ନିମନ୍ତ୍ରଣ ଆଉ ସନ୍ଧ୍ୟା ପୂଜା ନିମନ୍ତ୍ରଣ କରିବେ।
ଠାକୁର ଯେମିତି ଠିକ ଭାବରେ ଆପଣଙ୍କ ବର୍ଷ ସାରା ଯେପରି ଠିକ ଭାବରେ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ନିତ୍ୟ ସେବା ଠିକ ଭାବରେ ହେଇପାରୁ, ଆଉ ଦିନ ବି ଠିକ ଭାବରେ ହେଇପାରୁ, ସେଟା ମୁଁ ମାଗୁଛି। ଆଉ ବି ଜାଣତରେ ଅଜାଣତରେ ଯାହା ବି ଭୁଲ ତ୍ରୁଟି ଅପରାଧ ରହିଯାଉଛି ଠାକୁର ସେମିତି ସେଗୁଡ଼ିକ ଯେମିତି ନ ହଉ, ଯୋଉଟା ଜାଣତରେ ହଉଛି ସେଗୁଡ଼ିକ ଯେମିତି ସୁଧାରିବାକୁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିବି। ଠାକୁରେ ଆଉ ଆପଣ ଏହା ହିଁ କହୁଛି। ଆଉ ସେଥିରେ ମୁଁ ମଧ୍ୟାହ୍ନ ଭୋଗ ପାଇଁ ଶ୍ରୀ ଠାକୁର ମହାରାଜକୁ ନିମନ୍ତ୍ରଣ ଜଣାଉଛି। ଆମର ଜୟଗୁରୁ କୀର୍ତ୍ତନ ଏମିତି ଆସନ ବନ୍ଦ ହେବ ଏବଂ ଠାକୁର ମହାରାଜକୁ ବିଶ୍ରାମ ଗୃହକୁ ବିଜେ କରିବେ। ତାପରେ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ସେଠାରେ ମଧ୍ୟାହ୍ନ ଭୋଗ ନିବେଦନ କରାଯିବ। ଆଉ ଠାକୁର ମହାରାଜଙ୍କ ଭୋଗ ପରେ ସମସ୍ତ ଭକ୍ତ ଭାଇ ଓ ମା ମାନଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ରସାଦ ସେବନ ପାଇଁ ସାଦର ନିମନ୍ତ୍ରଣ ଜଣାଉଛି। ଆଜି ପୂଜାରେ ଜାଣତେ ଅଜାଣତରେ ଆମମାନଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଯାହା ବି ସମସ୍ତ ଭକ୍ତ ଭାଇ ମାନଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଯାହା ବି ଭୁଲ ତ୍ରୁଟି ଅପରାଧ ଠାକୁର ନିଜ ଗୁଣରେ କ୍ଷମା କରନ୍ତୁ। ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ।
ସୁହାନୀ ନିମନ୍ତ୍ରଣ।
Jai Guru. I invite Sri Sri Thakura, Bhais, Mas and young aspirants for the upcoming Puja session held on August 17th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Jai Guru.
भाई जय गुरु आनी टिके जॉइन करि पारनी स्निग्धा पा जदि अछंती निमंत्रण करिवे कर देले भलो होंता नले मु कर देबी भाई
नेक्स्ट हां मा आछले स्निग्धा मा निमंत्रण कर जय गुरु। बोधे सिद्धा माँ जो देछंती नहीं ओके ताले माँ तो पालिया ही परिबेनी नेक्स्ट संग पूजा रे नाटा प्रोग्राम रखिबेनी शिवाशीष भाई पालिया केवल रहिबे श्रेया माँ नेक्स्ट वीक आउ प्रभाकर निमंत्रण करंत जय
आज्ञा जय जय प्राणर ठाकुर भक्त भाई माँ यंग एस्पिरेंट्स श्रेया माँ निमंत्रण करुच्ची आपण को समस्त भक्त भाई और माँ पिला सुहानी श्रेया माँ नेक्स्ट संघ पूजा पाली अच्छी आपण मैंने समस्ते पूजा योगदान करी आमको समस्त को पालिया मान को सेवार सुजोग देवे और ठाकुर अमृतवाणी शुणी कृतार्थ करेंगे। जय
विदाय प्रार्थना जय गुरु सीमा ऑलरेडी कर दे लागुआ तो तुम चिंतित तो नियर भाई
जय गुरु भाई जय गुरु। दासेर प्रार्थना कर दयामय दासेर प्रार्थना पूर्ण कर दयामय तब पदे मति राति सदा जेन देव तब पदे मति राति सदा जेन तब पद ते जेन दूरे नाई जा तब पद ते जेन दूरे नाई जा যখন যে ভাবে থাকি তব গুণ যখন যে ভাবে থাকি তব গুণ নিবারিতে নারী কভু কুমতি প্রবল নিবারিতে নারী কভু কুমতি প্রবল কৃপানাথ কৃপা করে দারু দেবল কৃপানাথ কৃপা করে
দারুদেব পর নিন্দা পর চর্চা হতে রাখো দূরে পর নিন্দা পর চর্চা হতে রাখো দূরে তব গুণ গাথা যেন প্রাণে সদা স্ফুরে তব গুণ গাথা যেন প্রাণে সদা স্ফুরে অহংকার অভিমান কিছুতে না যায় অহংকার অভিমান কিছুতে না যায় করুণার দাস করে রাখ রঙ্গ পায় করুণার দাস করে রাখ রঙ্গ পায় বিষয় সহজে হয় আসক্তি যে মন বিষয় সহজে হয় আসক্তি যে মন সে মাপিত মাতে যেন থাকে মন সে মাপিত মাতে যেন লিপ্ত থাকে মন লোকমান্য নাই যায় কর দিনহীন লোকমান্য নাই চায় কর দিনহীন দীননাথ এসরূপে পুরাইল দীন দীননাথ এসরূপে পুরাইল দীন অসংখ্য আমার ত্রুটি করি সংশোধন অসংখ্য আমার ত্রুটি করি সংশোধন কৃতার্থ করে দাসে রকিঞ্চ কৃতার্থ করে দাসে রকিঞ্চ জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় 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 গুরু জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় জয়
जय गुरु जय जय गुरु जय गुरु 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 जय 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 जय गुरु
जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय श्री ठाकुर रेवरंदे बोले तुम्हारा श्री श्री गुरु महाराज जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु।
जय गुरु ଆମର ଜୁଲାଇ ମାସର ଦିନଲିପି ଡାଟା ଖାଲି ଜଷ୍ଟ ଜଣାଇ ଦେଉଛି। ଜୁଲାଇ ମାସରେ 52 ମେମ୍ବର୍ସ ଦିନଲିପି ପୂରଣ କରିଛନ୍ତି ଆଉ ସେଥିରୁ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟଲି ମାସେ ଫିଲ୍ଅପ୍ କରିଛନ୍ତି 38। ଗଲା ମାସରେ ସେମିତି 37 ଥିଲେ, ଏ ମାସରେ 38 ଆଉ ଦିନଲିପି ଗଲା ମାସରେ 49 ଫିଲ୍ଅପ୍ କରିଥିଲେ, ଏ ମାସରେ ମାନେ ଜୁଲାଇ ମାସରେ 52 ଟିକେ ଇମ୍ପ୍ରୁଭ୍ କରିଛି। ସେମିତି ଚାଲୁ ଏବଂ ଏ ମାସରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଅଗଷ୍ଟ ମାସରେ ସେମିତି ଫିଲ୍ଅପ୍ କରନ୍ତୁ, ଅଧିକ ଫିଲ୍ଅପ୍ କଲେ ବହୁତ ଭଲ। ଆଉ 25 ଦିନରୁ ଅଧିକ କରିଛନ୍ତି 46 ମେମ୍ବର୍ସ ଆଉ ସେମାନେ ନାଁଟା ଖାଲି ପଢ଼ି ଦେଉଛି ଯେଉଁମାନେ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟ୍ କରିଛନ୍ତି। ଅଜିତ ଭାଇ, ଅମିତାଭ ଭାଇ, ଅନୁପ ଭାଇ, ଭକ୍ତିମା, ବିଜୁ ଭାଇ, ବିନୟ ଭାଇ, ବିଶ୍ୱ ଭାଇ, ବିଶ୍ୱଜିତ ବେହେରା ଭାଇ, ବିଶ୍ୱଜିତ ଭାଇ, ବୃନ୍ଦାବନ ଭାଇ, ବ୍ରଜେନ୍ଦ୍ର ଭାଇ, ଦୌଲିମା, ଦୀପ୍ତିମା, ଗୁରୁଦାସ ଭାଇ, ଜ୍ଞାନ ଭାଇ, କଳ୍ପନା ମା, ଲିପ୍ସିତା ମା, ମହେଶ ଭାଇ, ମାନସ ଭାଇ, ନିହାର ଭାଇ, ନିଲିପ୍ତା ମା, ପଦ୍ମା ମା, ପଲ୍ଲବିତା ମା, ପଲ୍ଲବୀ ମା, ପ୍ରଭାକର ଭାଇ, ସାନୁଜିତ ଭାଇ, ସାର୍ଥକ ଭାଇ, ସସ୍ମିତା ମା, ଶିବାନୀ ଦ୍ୱିବେଦୀ ମା, ସ୍ମିତା ଭାଇ ମା, ସ୍ମିତା ରାୟ ମା, ସୁଭାଶିଷ ଭାଇ, ସୁବ୍ରତ ଭାଇ, ସୁପ୍ରୀତ ଭାଇ, ସ୍ୱପ୍ନେଶ୍ୱର ଭାଇ, ଶ୍ଵେତା ମା, ଉଷା ମା, ଭକ୍ତ ଭାଇ, ଏମାନେ ସବୁ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟ୍ ମାସ ଫିଲ୍ଅପ୍ କରିଛନ୍ତି। ନା ଗୁଡ଼ା ଆନାଉନ୍ସ କରିଦେଲି, ସେଗୁଡ଼ା ବ୍ରଜ ଭାଇ ମୋତେ ପଠେଇଥିଲେ। ଓକେ, ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ସ ୱାନ୍ ଥିଙ୍ଗ। ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା, ଆମର ଆପଣମାନେ ଜାଣିଥିବେ ଗଲା ସପ୍ତାହରେ ନୀଳାଚଳ ଶାସ୍ତ୍ରୀଙ୍କର ମହିଳା ସଂଘର ଯୋଗ ଦେଇଥିଲେ କାଞ୍ଚନବାଳା ତ୍ରିପାଠୀ ମା। ସେ ନୀଳାଚଳ କୁଟର ପାଳି ପ୍ରଣୟ ଉପରେ ଆଲୋଚନା କରିଥିଲେ, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେ ପାଳି ପ୍ରଣୟ କେମିତି ବ୍ୟବହାର ହେଉଛି ବିଭିନ୍ନ ଜାଗାରେ, ସେ କୁଟର ପାଳି ପ୍ରଣୟ ବିଷୟରେ ଯେଉଁ ଯାହା ହେଇଥିଲା ତାକୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମର ଅନୁପ ଭାଇ ମେସେଜ ପଠେଇଥିଲେ, କିନ୍ତୁ ତାର ଆପଣଙ୍କ ନାଁଟା ଏଣ୍ଟ୍ରି କରିବା ପାଇଁକା ଆପଣ ସମସ୍ତେ ଏଣ୍ଟ୍ରି କରିଛନ୍ତି। ସେ ବିଷୟରେ ଅନୁପ ଭାଇଙ୍କୁ ଟିକେ କହିବି କହିବା ପାଇଁକା। ଅନୁପ ଭାଇ, ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଆସିଛି ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଅନୁପ ଭାଇଙ୍କ ଗୁଡ଼ା ଆସିନି ଅଛି ସେଠି। ଅନୁପ ଭାଇ ସେ ବିଷୟରେ ଟିକେ କହିବି। ଆପଣମାନେ ମନେ କେତେ ଜଣ ଡାଟା ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି?
ଆମର ବୋଧେ 25 ଜଣ, ଜୟଗୁରୁ, ଆମର ବୋଧେ 25 ଜଣ ହେଇଛନ୍ତି। ଆଉ ମା ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଆମେ ରିକ୍ୱେଷ୍ଟ କରୁଛୁ କି ଯେଉଁ ମା ମାନେ ଏବେ ଯାଏ ଦେଇନାହାନ୍ତି ଦୟାକରିକି ଦେଇ ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ। ଆଉ ଇଭେନ୍ ମୁଁ ତ ପଠେଇଥିଲି କି ଯଦି କିଛି ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ଥାଏ ଆପଣ ଝିଙ୍କିମା ନମ୍ବରଟା ଦେଇଥିଲି ଆପଣ ମାନେ ତାଙ୍କ ସହିତ ଯୋଗାଯୋଗ କରିପାରିବେ। ଆଉ ଆମର ଇଭେନ୍ ପରିଚାଳନା କମିଟିରେ ବି ଉଷାମା ଆଉ ଚିଙ୍କିମା ସେବା ନେଇଛନ୍ତି କି ସେମାନେ ଯଦି ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କ କଥା ବି ଫଲୋ ଅପ୍ କରିବେ। ଆମର ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଡେଡଲାଇନ୍ଟା ଥିଲା 15 ତାରିଖ ବଟ୍ ବୋଧେ ଆମର ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରନ୍ତୁ ନହେଲେ ଆମେ ଟିକେ ଏକ୍ସଟେଣ୍ଡ କରିଦେବା ତାକୁ। ସୋ ଆମେ ଚାହୁଁଛୁ ଯେମିତି 100% ଆମ ସଂଘ ତରଫରୁ ପାର୍ଟିସିପେସନ ହଉ। ଜୟଗୁରୁ।
ଓକେ ଆଉ ଟିକେ ସୁପ୍ରିତ ଭାଇ ଟିକେ ମନେ ପକେଇ ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ଆମର ନାରାୟଣ ସେବା ପାଇଁ ପଠେଇଥିଲେ ଆଉ ଏଇ କ୍ୱାର୍ଟର ପାଇଁ ଜଣେଇ ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ତାପରେ
ହଁ ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଭାଇ ମା ମାନେ ହଁ ମୁଁ ତ ପଠେଇଥିଲି।